Okay, hopefully it will work. Hopefully we will not have any issues with the technical side. And I'm going to start to introduce you to the Hubleto. So once again, thank you all for being here. My name is Dusan Daniska, and I am a solution architect and developer of Hubleto. Basically, I am from the beginning of the project, and during the time we have found some another interesting developers, very skilled developers that contributed to the software, to the solution. But I would like now to provide you a brief introduction about what it is, and then I will go, as I mentioned, I will give a floor to my colleagues. So what is Hubleto? It is an open source ERP or CRM solution, a new one. I know that there are some of them on the market already, but we are making it our way. And our solution is based on the PHP. Okay, so most of the talks about the backend will be about the PHP and Laravel and Eloquent. So anybody of you who is familiar with these technologies may benefit from having an open source ERP or CRM solution with many built-in functionalities already, with a community version ready, which is on GitHub. So you can simply go to GitHub, browse the source code, and learn what is already inside. Okay, we have new attendee here. Hello, Peter. Okay, some others. So sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, Dusan, leave it to me. Leave it to me. I will be.
Okay, you can do that also. Okay, great. I thought that I am the only one who can make it. So thank you, Richard, for supporting me. So basically, it is an open source ERP. Hubleto is an open source ERP or CRM solution, but we don't want to be it only this. We call it a business application hub. The idea, the philosophy behind is that you or any developer who will take the Hubleto, download and customize it, can create any business application, basically for data management, for storing any kind of data with pre-built components for data grids and forms, and then using the PHP backend and Laravel data layer, quite easily implement features and automatization of processes in companies, like digitalization or automatization of business processes. So this is why we call it a business application hub, which we understand, or we think that this is much broader than only ERP or CRM solution. Okay, Hubleto already contains lots of applications, lots of apps. There is an architecture, a design pattern, common design patterns to develop Hubleto applications, and we already created all of them. There are applications for contact management, documents, tasks, mails, etc. And my colleague Richard, he will give you much broader insight into what is inside. But basically, you can go on a GitHub repository, go to the folder called apps, and then you can browse what apps are available. And yeah, currently it's, I think, more than 20 apps already built in, and we are still in a beta version. We did not release the major one, but this is approaching. And with the first major version of Hubleto, there will be a lot of apps available, and they will be still counting because we are making the development steady. We are not finishing now. We're just starting. You can install Hubleto very easily, just using Composer. Everybody who uses PHP knows what is Composer, create project. What does it mean? So in a minute, you will have a folder with all Hubleto files necessary, download it to your computer, then you simply run the PHP Hubleto init command, which initializes the database and all the necessary stuff to access your Hubleto on the local environment. And then you, for example, can easily create an application just by typing a command PHP Hubleto app create. So Hubleto also has a very strong command line interface agent, and you can invoke this agent by calling PHP Hubleto command, and then a lot of commands are available, and the commands still in development. New commands are still in development. So we, as I mentioned, we are only starting now. We are not finishing. The main message of this slide is that community version will be always free. So feel free to download, feel free to create projects, feel free to customize, feel free to play with the solution, with the Hubleto, and even develop projects on a commercial basis for your customers. Then what I want to mention here is that we are also developing or working on a content to certify developers to understand or to know how to effectively build Hubleto applications, or how to effectively install and configure Hubleto to your customers. This certification program is a work in progress, but well, I just want to mention for you to know that there is something like a certification program for developer, and we are also seeking for consultants or resellers. Basically, we would like to create a network of colleagues, of people working on ERP, CRM, or similar solutions. And we understand that all three types of colleagues or three types of people are needed to create the ecosystem. So the developers are necessary to provide customized solutions to the end users, to the end customers. The consultants need to understand what the solution, what Hubleto provides, in order to configure it in an effective way to the end customer. And reseller is very important for selling the built-in, the out-of-the-box solution as a service, for example. But here we are mostly developers. So I just want to stress out and to emphasize that on the developer's guide, there is a certification program. This is still a work in progress. We would like to have any feedback from you all to know what is interesting for you, to know what topics we shall cover to help you develop the Hubleto apps effectively and very fastly. And to support all this process of the development and of creating the environment and providing Hubleto to your customers as well, there are several resources which I put here into this slide. These slides actually will be available for download, and we will also provide a download link to the LinkedIn and Reddit. So if you want to have these slides, and if you want to be notified what is happening with Hubleto, with development, if you want to be notified, for example, when the major version will be released, please follow us on the LinkedIn, follow us also on Reddit, and we also encourage you or ask you kindly to give us a star to the project, to support us in this way. We believe that Hubleto is a very good solution. It contains a lot of functionality. You will learn what functionality is inside from our colleagues. And I also believe that you will like Hubleto. You will like the way how it works. You will like the way how can it be customized. And I believe in multiple cooperation in the upcoming years, or maybe even decades, for providing such solutions to the customers which will be near to you. And that's it. So once again, thank you for being here. Thank you, all of you. I would like to encourage you to ask, to give us a feedback. We need your feedback. We need your expertise. We need your perspective on what ERP or CRM solutions, what they need, what functionality is required. We also need to know what are the local circumstances or local requirements in different countries. Actually, we are a small company from the Central Europe, but I can see names from which I can deduct that we have here an international audience. So I would like to just ask you to give us any feedback, follow us, and provide us support also this way. Thank you very much. And now I will give the floor to Richard. No, sorry, to Michael.
So, hi everyone. It's nice to meet you. Can you tell me if you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So I'm Michael, as Dusan introduced me already. I am the lead developer of Hubleto, and I will be talking on how to set your development environment up. And because this is a very crucial part in developing Hubleto. Hubleto is comprised of many repositories. I think there's like 5 or more, and it is not a straightforward task to just set them up. So let me give you a clear overview of how to do this, so that when you start developing Hubleto, that you can have a head start and don't waste time doing this. First of all, let's talk about the prerequisites. You basically need an Apache. So this is a web server of your choice. I will be using Apache, but you can also use Nginx. Then you will need a database. I'm using MySQL, but you can also choose any SQL database you like. Of course, PHP, you need PHP 8.4, and of course, Composer for the installation at least. Git is like, will be cloning repositories, so of course you need Git, but when you're deploying Hubleto to some, for example, your client or any other production environment, you can omit Git. And anytime you can also refer to the developer Hubleto.com, to the Hubleto developer guide, where you can find further tutorials and further sources for you to check on if you're not sure about anything. So the course of action is, first of all, we are going to clone the repositories. Then we will run npm install commands in the assets and React UI repositories. And then we are going to set up the ERP project repository, and then we will be installing it just as Dusan already has shown in his slide. If you remember these 3 commands that he had there, that's basically everything you need to set up Hubleto from scratch. But if we are going to be developing it, developing new features and improvements, we need some further configuration to also make sure that we can make changes to the other repositories that this ERP project depends on. Also, this tutorial is largely based on the tutorial on developer-hubleto.com. You can find it under tutorials and then set up environment for development. Yeah, when you will be doing this for yourself, you can refer to this web page, and you will find everything there, everything you need. But first of all, let me show you the directory structure that we'll be using and that we recommend for you to use as well. Let's consider my web server root is in var www, and how we develop Hubleto is that we create in the web server root an additional folder called Hubleto, and we clone all the repositories in there. So as you can see, we have 5 repositories: assets, ERP, ERP project, framework, and React UI. Yeah. So let's go over them a bit to have an overview what they actually do and why we need so many of them. So ERP project, this is like the entry gate to your Hubleto setup, because this is when you run once again the commands that Dusan showed, the composer, create project, it was, I believe. The ERP project repository is the one that gets downloaded onto your machine. It contains like some basic, it really is like it stitches all the other repositories together, and yeah, so when you're doing development, you will likely not be doing it in the ERP project repository, but you need this repository to be able to test your changes. It also contains things like init config, and this is like a pre-installation configuration file, because when you're doing development, it may be that you will need to reinstall your Hubleto instance more than once, and this helps you to do it like automatically with one command without you needing to input anything. Or yeah, and it also like remembers your information that you put into it. So you basically don't need to do anything. You just run php Hubleto install, then this init config. I will show you how it looks like and how to configure it later on. Now we have these ERP and framework repositories. Let me start with the framework. Yeah, and these both are like the heart and brain of Hubleto, because as you will hear now, the framework contains like the groundwork. It contains some basic forms components, also the table component, if you know Hubleto, and it also is like this framework, so it has some sidebar, I believe, and yeah, it really is like this framing that Hubleto built upon. And then we have the ERP repository. This one overrides some of the components provided in the framework and customizes them more to Hubleto's liking. So because framework, the Hubleto framework repository can also be used by some other project, and it is also being actively used by other projects. You can also use it if you want. And ERP applies some changes to them so that they're more customized for the use cases of Hubleto itself. For example, framework contains the model class, which is like this backbone of all models in Hubleto. In your apps, you will find the models folder. You will have models, the data models there, and the ERP provides like a Hubleto model which contains some more Hubleto specific functions. And it also contains this the Hubleto agent, and also things like the installer, CLI agent, yeah, etc. So it really extends the framework and adds new functionality that is pretty much specific to Hubleto. You wouldn't be using ERP for some other project. And also ERP contains the the apps directory, which contains all your community apps, as Dusan mentioned already. For installation, you will not be needing to do anything in these repositories. You basically just download them, and we tell Hubleto where to use them, and that will be okay. Then we have the repositories assets and React UI. these take care of the style sheets in Hubleto. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So React UI contains all the React components, such as, yeah, you see on the picture here, breadcrumbs, button, and also Hubleto form, etc. And then assets is this assets basically builds all the assets together. Also the React UI, but it also assets also has like these CSS files that React UI doesn't have. And when developing Hubleto, you will be building your style sheets and basically all your JavaScript in the assets repository. And also before every release, we run a production build of assets. So also when you're deploying Hubleto somewhere, it is likely, or I'm sure that it is using this assets repository, and you don't need to run any JavaScript because we have already pre-built it for you. So to set these two repositories up, you will need to run npm install in both of them, and then only in the assets repository you will run npm run build. Yeah, and it also offers some build scripts, the assets repository. For example, this build, and then you have a build prod if you're building for production. And when developing, you might find use of build CSS to only build the CSS files, or build JS to only build JavaScript. Or we also have some watch scripts, as you surely know already. So let's get practical. Let's actually install this, and let me show you how you can basically set up your development environment in a very short time. So I will now share my terminal. Great. Can you see it? Can you see me typing something?
You can, yes.
Great. So first of all, as you can see, I am in my web server root now. Let me make a Hubleto directory here. You can call this directory whatever you like. We prefer to have it Hubleto. And also, once you understand the concepts, you can also use this setup differently. You may also decide to have your files maybe directly in the web server root or somewhere completely else. But this is just the way that we prefer to do it. And yeah, so we also recommend you to do it this way as well. So now we are going to clone the 5 repositories here. Let me do this quickly. Yeah, so we can start with the React UI, then assets. Oh wait, what am I doing? We have the ERP project. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry, I'm cloning it into the wrong folder, but that's okay, we will move them later. So now, the framework repository and React UI. Oh wait, React UI we have already. What did
ERP is missing, I believe.
Yes, ERP is missing. So, but now I have them in the wrong repository. So wait, I will just. So you should have done this first, but you see, stuff happens. So now I need to move all of them. Assets, and I moved them to Hubleto. Check if this has moved it correct. So. Or. Okay. Checked. Framework. Oh wait. I just noticed. Oh no, this is the stage stress, right? Everything goes wrong when you're sharing the screen and doing something live. I will just clone them again to have the installation clean. So bear with me for a moment here. It'll be correct now.
Michael, just breathe deeply.
Yeah.
No stress, please. Then you make errors.
Yeah, but the cloning part is pretty fast. So also make sure to have, of course, Git set up. I didn't mention this, but I will not be going over how to set up Git on your machine. But GitHub has some pretty good resources for this. So look it up if you're not aware of it. Okay. Now we have these 5 repositories. Okay, and what do we need to do now? As I mentioned in the presentation, we will need to go to ERP project first. We can take a look how it looks like. And like I said, ERP project, it ties together all the other repositories. So we need to go to bin. And if you look, we have prepared a script for you because rather, let's take a look at composer.json. As you can see, we are using, or like ERP project uses these other repositories here, the framework, ERP, and assets. And if you want to develop Hubleto, you need your own copies of these, right? You cannot just have these downloaded from the cloud because then you don't see your changes. This is obvious. So we need to tell Composer that we have this repository somewhere else on our machines, and we have prepared a handy script for you to link these repositories. So take a look at use local repositories, and I'm on Linux, so I'm using the Linux version, and this basically just sets the path to. It basically already expects that you have in one folder all the other repositories. And yeah, that's what it does. Let me run the command quickly. So it's already autofilled for me. And it will also build the assets here. It will basically do all the setup required for the ERP project repository. About this error that we see here, you don't need to worry about this. You will also find in the developer guide that there is a mention of some external apps repository. Richard may tell you more about this, but you just don't need to worry about this. This is for like when you're developing your own apps, some non-community apps that you don't want in the Hubleto ERP repository with other community apps, then you might utilize this additional repository for new apps, but we will not be doing this in this tutorial, so we can safely ignore this one. If it's enterprise or external apps, this can be missing. Now, let me change my screen sharing actually to my IDE, because I will be able to show you the files better, I think. Now, I will just use the latest Node version because this is also very crucial. I'm not sure if this was in the prerequisites, but of course, to build, you need to build the assets, you need npm and nvm. Like nvm is the Node version manager for Linux. Now we can go into the React UI, and we run npm install here. Just wait until this is finished. And in the meantime, yeah, it just installs everything required for this one. For the framework repository, as I said, we will not be. There is no action required for this one. Yeah. And in the meantime, maybe I can show you the init config. So this is what it looks like, and if you already installed Hubleto sometime, you may remember that you were asked to fill out like the rewrite base, your database credentials, and some other stuff. So yeah, this is pretty straightforward. This just provides a file that already has all this information, so you don't need to do this while installing, and this speeds up the development process or like the build process significantly. Okay, so our assets have been built, and this is everything we need to do in the React UI repository. Now let's just go to assets, and we also need to run npm install here. Yeah, so another round of waiting for npm. Great, this is pretty fast. And now we can take a look at all the build scripts that are available in the assets repository. So as you can see, we have build CSS, watch CSS, build.js, watch.js. You might find use for this when developing Hubleto, but we will just use build because also we wouldn't need to do this normally because we already have downloaded all the assets and they are already pre-built, but yeah, in general, you will need to do this, and when you're developing, it's recommended that you do this. So let's just build the assets here. This will be done in no time, I hope. Okay. Great. So this has finished successfully. Now we have our assets ready. What do we need to do next? Actually, only just install Hubleto. So let's specify this one. And also, if we look into our composer JSON in ERP project, you can see that the script, because if you remember, we had these 3 repositories, and these have now changed from 0.23 to dev main. And also down here, there are these new lines that appeared, and these indicate for composer that these repositories should be sourced from these specified folders. So this is now set up correctly. And if we do some changes to our other repositories in our setup, for example, the ERP one, or if we build or rebuild the assets, this will now take effect. So let's configure this one. The rewrite base, I'm not sure if you're aware, but this is like anything, any prefixes that should be in Hubleto routing other than the URL address itself. So these are any folders that are beyond the web server root. So our web server root is var www, but we will not be needing this. But after var www, we have Hubleto, so we need Hubleto. And then our ERP project, the entry gate to Hubleto, let's call it this way, is in the ERP project repository. So this is our rewrite base, and this gets automatically inserted into project URL, SRC URL, and also assets URL. Yeah, then we need to configure the database. I will just put Hubleto here because this is these are my database credentials on my local machine. And you can leave basically everything else unchanged. Yeah, you could configure something here, like for example, not install all packages or specify the admin email. But this is basically whatever for development. What's maybe more interesting is that you want to keep no prompt to true, to never be prompted by the Hubleto installer, to keep the install process quick. And the generate demo data should whatever you like. I keep it on true. So now let's just install Hubleto. And because this is the command that you share with like the default Hubleto installation, PHP Hubleto install. And now we need to provide the init config dev YAML, the configuration that we have just written. Wait. I'm doing incorrectly here. All right, sorry, it's not Hubleto install, it's Hubleto init. And yeah, so this now just runs. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but this is the installation process. It basically has inserted all your provided credentials here, and then it installs all the applications, the Hubleto apps located in the ERP and apps folder. You can take a look at them over here. And then it installs all the demo data and so on. Let's see how long this takes, but it shouldn't be long. Also, the Hubleto apps are a pretty good resource for you to get started on building your own new apps, because I think they already cover like every possible detail of Hubleto development, or the features that Hubleto is able to provide. So when in doubt, when you're not sure how to build something, you can always just look into this repository and see how something is done and bring it over to your application. Great. So Hubleto has finished installing. We can take a look. If we go to, let me share my browser once again. Moment now. Can you see my browser?
Yes.
Great. So our web server root is localhost. I have some files here, and now let's just go to Hubleto, because this is where we installed all the repositories, and now we have installed Hubleto to the ERP project folder. We are greeted with this login screen. This is a great sign, and we just copy over the credentials that we've set up in the init-config dev file. We log in, and as we can see, we have our development environment is ready. We can also go to about, and we see that we have the dev main repositories downloaded here. Yeah, so this is basically it. You are now ready to develop Hubleto, to make improvements, add new features, also to the Hubleto core, to the open source repositories. Also, just a small note: when you want to contribute to Hubleto, you should not be cloning directly the repositories, but you should instead create your own forks of the repositories and clone them instead. But I think you know all of this already. So let me pass the word to Richard, who will give a brief introduction to apps.
Thank you, Michael. Just before Richard starts, once again, I would like to thank you for a very comprehensive and detailed presentation. And this presentation even outreached my expectations, because this was about configuring the development environment for you, if you want to be a contributor even. So this was the most complicated setup, and even you can see that it can be done in a few minutes if you know the process. And this is the setup for being able to contribute to the Hubleto community as well. But if you want just to use Hubleto with the community versions and create some custom apps, and Richard will be talking more about what is the custom app. If you just want to simply use it, the setup is even more simpler. It's about just those three commands that I have presented in my presentation. You don't need to have the npm and these things. So just to understand that this was the most complicated setup for being able to contribute directly. Thank you, Michael. And Richard will now continue in the overview of the Hubleto app. So we already can see the presentation. And Richard also will explain what are the types of applications, like, for example, the community ones that you can use completely for free. So Richard, the floor is yours.
So hi guys, my name is Richard and I'm the in-house app developer at Hubleto. And I will be briefly talking about the overview of Hubleto apps and what you can do with Hubleto apps. So as Dusan mentioned, we have a few types of apps in Hubleto. The first ones are the community ones, which are in-house developed apps that are, as Michael showed you, prepackaged on install inside your developer repository. As Dusan mentioned, these are free to use and free to use for you. The next type of apps are external. These are the types of apps that you can find on GitHub. They are installed from a repository and installed from a repository from GitHub, and they can be imported to your project if you want. And the last types are the custom apps, which these are the apps that you create and you install in your project. And I will talk about them later. As we mentioned before, we have many community apps already. We group them into some categories like CRM, marketing, or finance. As Michael already showed you in the interface, this is how it looks. This is the panel, the sidebar that has all the apps installed. And as we mentioned before, the community apps will always be free and always be free to use. Next up, we have the external apps. As I mentioned before, these are the apps that are downloaded from repositories and can be installed either through a CLI agent that we have, or can be installed through the app manager in the Hubleto interface. On the right, we can see one of the examples of external apps that we developed. This app adds some dashboards to Hubleto that we can then add to our dashboard on the home screen. This app we use this app on the daily basis in our internal instance of Hubleto. And if you want, you can check it out on the link below and of how it works. And lastly, we have the custom apps. As I said before, these are the apps that you create inside your project and you modify. So I will be talk about them briefly now. So how do you create them? Well, it's pretty simple. You can use the CLI agent to install the app inside your project folder using the create app command. This will create a simple template of an app, which contains one view and one view in the settings app, which then you can modify freely. So the next step is to modify the app, which, for example, you can create a single view app. You can add new models, new views, or controllers to the app. Or you can, as I mentioned before, you can create new dashboards inside your Hubleto instance. I believe you can create whatever you want, whatever you need. You just need to let your imagination run wild. And after you're done with the modifications of the base template, you can then again install the app through the CLI agent. We have an example on the right, how it looks inside the CLI agent. So you just again input the create command inside your terminal. It will create the base template, which you can then modify, or it will also ask you if you want to install it right now. And after your modification are done, again, you can use the commands to install it, which will show you the console will show you if it's installed successfully. If you want, you can check out the developer guide on the link below, on the bottom left, and see what else you can do with the app. As I mentioned, there is a CLI agent that can also help you with the app creation. Not only you can create the app with the CLI agent, but it can also help you to create new models, controllers, or views to help you develop the app further. You can also check out more information about the CLI agent on the link below in our developer guide. As Dusan mentioned, and Michael mentioned, we are still developing the CLI agent further, so expect more commands in the future. So this is how the custom app looks like. This is from the template. It's very simple. It's the view that it creates, and also it creates a new button in sidebar that links to the view. So what can you do with the app? What's the customizability of the app? Well, there's many ways of how you can customize the app. For example, you can again create more views, define models, modify the tables and the forms, basically the components of the app. And you can see the result on the right. This is the result of going through all the customizability of Hubleto. And the result is here. It's the customer form inside. It's the customer form inside our customer app, which we provide in the community apps. So these are the few examples of what you can do with with all the customizations of Hubleto. So for example, in the routing, you can define routes, URLs, define API endpoints to use inside your project or the instance of the Hubleto. Then in the models, you can define the data, the columns, the relations to other models. You can even set up pre-processing or post-processing of the data through on after or on before events we provide inside the model class. And there are more ways you can modify. Of course, there are more ways to modify the models. But these are some of the examples, notable examples what you can do with the models. With the controllers, you can, for example, define the logic of the endpoints. You can modify what data the API will return or what will it do. You can also add, if we connect the views to the controllers, you can then add data to the views that will show up in the views. With the views, you can fully customize how the pages or the views will look using basic HTML or CSS. Or you could also quickly add some components to the views. For example, the tables or the four components, which will be probably which we would probably mostly use, adding tables or form components. Speaking of components, we have the tables and forms. With the tables, you can configure, for example, configure filters, add them, modify the logic of how we will search through the data, filter through the data. You can also style the columns, meaning that you can customize how the data will look inside the columns, or you can modify the UI components of the tables. For example, you can hide the add button, add the full text search that we have available, and many more things. With the form components, it's fully customizable to your needs. You can place the inputs wherever you want, however you want. You can also style the inputs however you want. For tables and forms, Hubleto also provides some simple forms of the components, which are to quickly add the tables or to quickly add the forms to your projects. Yeah, so these are the basic things you can do with the, or like the examples of the things you can do with all the apps. Here are some examples for the code. So this is all of these screenshots are from the customer app, the community app customers. On the top of it, we can see the routing. We can see how we route the API and the CRUD functions to inside the customer app. On the bottom left, we can see how we define the model and the data that's inside the customer app. This is basically the customer model. Other than defining the data type of the columns, we can also use the utility functions to set the input to be required, set the default value of the input, or even change the component of the input. There are also many more utilities you can use to define these columns. You can also define them later in the table definitions, or like description of the table. You can also hide them. You can do many stuff with the models and tables and all the other components. Or on the right, we can see the form. We build it inside with React, and forms also provide you with some utility functions that help you create the forms quicker. For example, the input wrapper, which basically creates the expected type of input in the form. Yes, so that's it for me. But what's next for you? It's maybe you can check out and learn more about the developer guide, learn from the developer guide at developer.hubleto.com. And you can also follow us on LinkedIn to see updates to the Hubleto and also see other events that will be available later in the future. So thank you. And I think we can go to the Q&A now.
Yes, thank you, Richard, for your, again, very comprehensive presentation. And I understand now that it might be very large amount of information for you all to be here, because you didn't even hear about Hubleto before, and we just spread out too many things on you. So I want to thank you for being here up to now. Now I will stop recording, and the presentations that has been provided by us up until now will also be available for download, or maybe on YouTube. So please follow us, stay in touch on LinkedIn or Reddit or some other social networks in the future, where we will post the information about where you can find these presentations, where you can find the recording if you want to go through once again, and where you will find also some another interesting stuff for development of Hubleto, and also not only from development but also from consultancy perspective to learn what the Hubleto really provides, how it can be useful for your customers or for your projects. So please stay in touch. I'm now stopping the recording.